Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. And I'd like to begin by thanking Subha for inviting me to be here and as part of the introduction of this great initiative. We've had discussions much earlier about his peace ideas, and I remember that he converted me from thinking about human environmental issues as conflict-based to start thinking about it as peace-based, and I'm really glad that he set this off. So I'd like to speak about environment as being a critical part of the peace research and why this is a critical part and why it should continue to be a critical part. So the environment has been an important part of peace research studies. It's been acknowledged that environmental causes can lead to conflicts between human communities, between states, between people within a region even. One just has to think about water sharing issues and the conflicts that erupted. One just have to think about the wars that have happened over oil. And therefore, the environment has been the causal reason for conflict. It's also been a kind of a reason why people should not engage in conflict. You can think of, remember the little girl, the 13-year-old girl who spoke about the environmental degradation that adults cause at the Rio de Janeiro climate change conference, and how she brought the world and the attention of the world suddenly on the fact that we are degrading our environment, how this is our responsibility. So the environment has always been recognized as being a very important part of the peace process. It's one of the problems that we've never been very clear, how do we proceed with this? People have recognized that we need to stop environmental degradation, that our own conflicts, that human conflicts lead to environmental degradation, but there's never been any clear understanding about how do we actively stop this. There have been many passive initiatives. For example, you can think about peace parks. Peace parks were set up to promote both biodiversity as well as peace between nations. The first peace park was set up in 1932 to commemorate the peace between India, US, and Canada. And since then, there have been any number of peace parks set up. They've also moved on and expanded to think of what are called transboundary peace parks, meaning these are peace parks that are set up at the boundaries between nations to encourage communities to come together in the name of biodiversity and work together. So in some ways, environment has been used as a tool to help with the peace process. And this is very important. But when are we going to stop thinking about it as a tool and start thinking about it as a main agenda? And that is what I'd like to bring the attention on. I think the peace process should start thinking about environment as the main process here and focus attention on it. It's not that it's not being done. It has been done in small parts. Like, for example, there is the demilitarized zone between South Korea and North Korea. And people are talking about how this zone can be used to develop biodiversity for the sake of the environment. And perhaps as a fallout, there would also be peace between the two nations. And I think this is a great reason. But we need to have more efforts in these directions, and they need to be more positive and active. And only then can I think we can move forward. The fallouts of human conflicts have been extremely bad for wildlife and for other parts of the environment. And we sometimes don't even stop to think about this. And it's time we really started thinking about that. Thank you.